was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over, I gotta deal with what's mine and try to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, I kiss on my wife. Just another day in a first responder's life. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Flashing lights fill the air, broken bodies everywhere. Another bad dream is stealing my sleep. 'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show here on Streamlabs. We are here to honor and help our first responders and our heroes in the mental health department. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I think we're on StreamYard, though.
StreamYard. What did I say? Streamlabs? StreamYard? Streamlabs?
Streamlabs is a good thing, too, though. So we can be on, hey.
We can be on both.
Streamlabs. Hey, if you're listening. Here we go. Mad Radio. Yeah. Reach out.
It is your first responder network. It is your first responder network into the mental health field. And we are dedicated to bringing you resources, training, and workshops in every aspect of your well-being. So,
and really dedicated to bringing you real stories, and the learning that happens in those stories, and how to reach out, because you're not alone. We're not alone in this battle. And John, this is holiday time. Historically, this is the toughest time for our first responders. The number of first responders that have taken their lives is not getting smaller. I believe we're in the mid 150s now. I think it was 150.
Last time we did our show, we were at 141.
Yeah, it's way higher than that.
Yeah, we are at for just law enforcement, as per Blue Help, just for law enforcement, we're at 139. But that's
law enforcement. For all first responders, it's up at 156, I think. Something like that.
I'm trying to get the exact number.
So yeah, it's a tough time, and that we've been doing. There's no try. Do or do not. Thank you, Yoda.
154 is the number.
Yeah. So it's not getting any smaller. Unfortunately, that number will continue to go up to the end of the year, and we've got to smash the stigma. And it is our purpose on this show, as well as what we do in our 501c3, to do just that. And there are so many incredible people that we have had the pleasure to bring on as partners who have aligned themselves with us in this fight. It is a fight like no other right now. Congratulations to you, John, for a phenomenal article in Blues Police Magazine about, the whole face and what law enforcement now looks like, the climate change. I mean, you nailed it in that article, because we have had a huge climate change. I'm beyond fingers crossed, because that shit doesn't work anymore. I am pleading and asking the state of Texas to step up and protect all of our citizens. Governor Abbott, I'm calling you out on the show. Okay.
Nope.
We have got to stop the mandates for the jab, which is not only putting hardworking moms and dads and aunts and uncles and sisters and brothers out of work across every spectrum. Now Kroger's in on it. I will never shop at Kroger again. Okay. And yeah, they're mandating it. Okay. So it's crossed over from a health issue, and it's now become a pure political issue. And once we have that, we have politicians in place that we look for and we look to solve these problems. So if you're a police chief, if you're in the sheriff's department, and thank you, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, for standing up for our rights. If you're in law enforcement today, you have an absolute obligation to refuse to follow any order that is given to you that violates the constitutional rights of another Texan. You do. You have an obligation not to follow that order. We've talked about it with our veterans and our soldiers on this show, that it's okay not to follow or disobey an order that does that. You absolutely have that right. And if you're working for an organization that is mandating you do stuff that you don't want to do, find another organization. Let them fire you. Hey, I heard Florida's a really great place, and they're offering incentives, but don't stop taking this line down. Stop just complying. We've all taken orders over our lifetime. We can no longer say, well, I was just doing my job. You know why we can't say that? Because that's what the Nazis said at Nuremberg. Well, I was just following orders. It doesn't work anymore. So we need you guys as much as you all need us in your corner. And we need to change that climate, John, that you wrote about. We need to change it back to full 100% support, because that's ultimately how we smash the stigma in the end.
I do agree with you, and I want to touch on your topic, but on two things. I want to really give a big shout out and a thank you to Michael Barron of the Blues Magazine. If you don't know what the Blues magazine is, check it out online. It's internet. It's a free subscription. So many great articles, and just the magazine is packed full of law enforcement from around the nation. So thank you, Michael Barron, for putting that out. Second, when you talk about Governor Abbott to step up, he's got to follow what DeSantis just did in Florida. And like you said, DeSantis is hiring police officers that have been fired. But DeSantis also this week put aside $12 million for the mental health of our first responders in Florida. So kudos to Governor DeSantis for doing that. Now, on the flip side, I just had this conversation with 12 regarding the power trip a lot of these politicians have, and all these woke police chiefs and everybody else. For me and you and Sam, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but for me and you to sit back here, we're retired. It's easy for us to say. For a police officer on the street right now to disobey an order, that is a tough position to be put in. And shame on any chief that is putting that officer in that position. Yep. You know, it's easy for us to say to the police officers on the street, do not comply, do not listen, do not. We were there, Sam. We know these officers. They have families to support. They have a career. They love their job. And they have discretion, and I'm sure they all use it sparingly or as they can. But when they're under the watchful eye of their supervisors, they do not want to lose their job. They have enough stuff to worry about being ambushed in the political climate that's around. What we have to do is change these woke police chiefs who are making these directives and putting our officers in this position. That's not fair to them. That's not fair to them because a lot of these officers do not want to be out there being the mask police. They don't want to do that. That is not something they want to do. They want to go out and fight crime, make a difference in their communities. They do not want to be telling somebody, do not wear, you have to put on a mask, but they're in a tough bind. I hate to say it. They are between a rock and a hard place, depending on the chief of police, depending on who they have, who's their commanding officer, and what their commanding officer is making them do.
Sure. I agree 100%. What you and I also learned is we also learned to always set yourself up to win, right? So yes, you want to win for yourself. You want to win for your family. You want to win for your kiddos, whatever it takes. We are in a time right now where we're in a whatever it takes atmosphere, climate, if you will.
Yes.
Like your article said, it's whatever it takes. And whether it is your mental health or your job, you've got to do for you the best that you can do. But please, it's here. When you start compromising what it is to be a human being wearing that uniform, which is the whole plan in the background. It's all about how much can we get people to compromise their moral integrity and turn on people, flip on people. And it's happening.
Right. But you know what's sad is, like with New York, from where I am, right? The NYPD, they have the union to back them. So if they, they have somebody fighting for them. A lot of these small departments, 25, 50 guys, if their chief has a hard on for this woke, I want to command you to go tell the people to do these masks, that chief will just fire this guy. Then he doesn't have a job. Then he's out.
Right. That's why you have to set yourself up first. You have to see the writing on the wall. And like we had our guest on, Nate, you gotta move and make shifts where you need to do it. He's not still with the same department that he started. He's not even with police anymore. He went back to the Air National Guard. So he went back to his military roots. You're right. It is easy to sit back and look at this from our respective chairs in our homes. Being that we're retired, we also rely on our first responders to be able to make decisions that protect, because it's protect and serve us, right? And so we know if we've got this woke kind of system set up within the department, you see it, you recognize it, you're aware. If you don't buy into it, if you're having to compromise your value system, look elsewhere. There's so many places hiring right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is what we got to do. This is what we got to do as retired police officers in law enforcement. We got to now fight for our law enforcement guys that are still on the job, right?
Amen.
We can make as much noise as we want. They can't touch us.
Right.
So we have to make the noise. We have to make sure those chiefs are unwoken. We have to make sure those chiefs at the council meetings are unwoken. Is that a word? Unwoken?
I think you
or woke up?
That made me smile. Unwoken.
We have to make sure.
I don't know.
We have to go to those council meetings. We have to
go to the politicians. We got to go.
We have to call out those chiefs. Yeah. We have to call out those chiefs for those officers that are being put in those positions. We got to say no more, stop, and then we got to come up with a plan. We have to protect our officers. That's what we have to do.
Absolutely,
we can do that,
and Governor Abbott, I'm going to call him out again. Governor Abbott has the absolute authority to put an end to all this bull crap going on, and he's got to do it, or he's going to find himself looking for a new job.
Right.
Wink, wink. Read between the lines. It's we're broadcast on the social media, so we have to be a little bit cryptic. But hey guys, thank you for coming on the comment stream, saying hi. The comment stream is open, so please chime in. And you were just saying that we need to have these guys' backs. Our guest tonight, he has been through a lot, and he knows what it means to have somebody's back. And he is not only a military veteran, but he has been on the police force for 24 years. He's currently a neighborhood police officer. The vast majority of his time has been spent on the street, on patrol. His first 11 years in law enforcement was in Louisiana, and he calls it on his bio. He was in deep nights, so he was working the night shift, the deep night shift. And,
that's a tough area, Louisiana.
A very tough area. He also did mounted patrol, which is very cool, not only on horseback but also on bicycles. And he worked the entertainment district, nightclubs, tavern, bars, casinos, strip clubs. I mean, so he was really in it. He's also been a high school substitute teacher and a youth football and little league baseball coach. There is not much that he has not done.
Can I add one thing?
Well, yeah, I'm not done yet. He's got 19 letters of commendation. Like, huge. But go ahead. Yeah. What else?
He's one hell of a face painter.
He is.
I got to tell you.
He's an incredible artist.
He blessed us on last Saturday, coming to the V-Rock for our veterans and our first responder family fun day. You know what? And he did such an amazing job, on my sister. He painted the Grinch on my sister's face. And when I got home that day, my sister was like, I don't want to wash my face. This is perfect. It's great. It's beautiful.
It was.
He does an amazing, amazing job. And I wonder if his artistic skills is what keeps him mentally sane, because that is a wonderful outlet for him to do.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about that, because what he does now, which is his current role, is is the president of the Garland Police Association. And he speaks all over to lots of different groups, city leaders. He's got the city council meetings. He is not a stranger to podcasts either. He's been on with our friend Nate, Surviving the Streets, and he is a true advocate for mental health. He speaks about the traumas related to the law enforcement profession. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to bring on Matt Smith to Mad Radio. Matt, hello.
Thank y'all for having me.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for being with us. I mean, your resume, I think, as I was reading it, realizing that you are a substitute school teacher, I think that's where like the soft side, the mellow side of you comes from, because you're sitting in a chair right now, but when Matt walks into a room, it's like, okay, like Matt's here, everybody listen. Because how tall are you? 6 foot?
About 6'1".
No, you're way taller than that.
He should know how tall he is.
Yeah, let's just say Matt commands your presence. You pay attention when he's there, and let's start off with the light stuff. First of all, thank you again for coming out to the V-Rock this past Saturday for our fundraiser. You put so many smiles on so many people's faces that still being shared on Facebook, where the kiddos and also the adults that just had a blast. And how did you we want to hear your story, but how did you fall into that?
It was about 8 or 9 years ago. I think we were doing a function at an apartment complex, a family fun day where SWAT came out, and we were trying to get activities together. So I'm like, I can draw, or I'm like, I can paint faces, so I can do that. So I was just trying to contribute it, and then it just turned into that. Then I started doing National Night Out, and the Hugs Foundation. I go to that every holiday season and paint there. So it's almost like anytime there's a function and kids are involved, I try to loan my time when I can.
Have you always had? I mean, because you are an amazing artist. It's not looks like stick figures on your face. Like the Grinch that you painted on my sister's face. I mean, looked like a photo.
From a movie, from the movie poster.
Yeah. I mean, have you always had the artistic skills? Did you go to school for art? I mean, have you always enjoyed it?
Yeah, when I was in kindergarten, I think I drew everybody in the classroom as superheroes. And of course, I drew me in the middle as Superman. So the teacher wrote a note home to my parents that I had artistic ability, and they tried to send me to some adult art class where they're drawing cylinders and circles, but I bypassed all that and just I didn't need that step, so I started crying, I think, and then I didn't have to go back. But I've always enjoyed art and drawing, but as you get older and you get a profession and family and kids, things start falling off the plate. But it definitely is, y'all said earlier, it's soothing, it's relaxing, it's mentally frees the mind. So anytime I do it, it puts me in a nice, place I like being.
Well, you made a lot of people happy on
Saturday. It benefits me as much as it does do the people that like the Grinches on their face.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep. Well, you started off your career in service with in the military. Did you sign up right after high school?
Yeah, so I joined the Louisiana Army National Guard to help pay for my college. Did that for 10 years, got a degree, became a cop.
Was it an easy transition?
Yeah, my dad was real strict with me. He was in the military. My older brother, when he was born, had the umbilical cord, I think, wrapped around his neck, so it cut off circulation to his brain. So he had a learning disability, and he couldn't function. But I was too young to realize. He lived with us up until he was about 4. And then I just remember him going off to a special school. But I think that's why my parents were so strict with me after what happened with him. They didn't want nothing to happen with me. So I was just used to that, strict lifestyle, then coupled with the military, and then boom, and law enforcement, so I'm used to taking orders.
Everything's regimented.
Oh, yeah. Get up at 5 a.m., eat, don't spend any longer than 10 minutes at the dinner table.
Oh, that must be fun for the family.
No, I've trust me, my wife has got a few more minutes out of me.
There you go. Well, I mean, take us through your story. You know, you've got some. We've had the privilege of doing workshops at Garland Police Department, so talking with you, kind of getting an inside track. But we both missed you sharing at the first conference in Frisco with Dr. T, and not only did I hear from the Garland police officers that were there, but a lot of other people that were there that were impacted by your story.
So, yeah, if you would have told me 6 months ago that I'm going to be getting in front of an audience and talking about my personal stuff, I would have just, laughed because, but now I'm realized with what y'all are doing and the position I have, it gives me a platform to hopefully connect with somebody out there that's watching or listening. I had a normal childhood. I mean, my parents never argued once in front of me, not one time. So, the deal with my brother, I was taught to, treat women with respect, grow up, get married, have a kid, get a job. That was it. So I never experienced trauma from ages 1 through college. And I become a police officer. I get married. I'm on deep nights. I think I was a cop for about 2 years. And then one day I'm getting home and the phone rings and this lady's like, "Hey, is this Matt?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "I just want to let you know your wife was having an affair with my husband." So like the room just starts spinning. I mean, because in my world, and divorce is part of life, but back then to me being, sheltered and not ever having any type of trauma, that really hit me hard because I took that as I'm not good enough. It was all about me. I didn't, blame her. I mean, I blamed her, but a lot of that impact was on me. So my views on women and marriage, my faith in relationships totally just did a 180. And I remember at the time the lieutenant tells me, just take a few days off. You'll be all right. This happens to most of us. So I go home, but what I needed at the time was to talk, but I came up in that generation, rub some dirt on it, get back in the game. So there's still part of that in me. And we're taught to, compartmentalize stuff, put stuff in boxes and throw it in the attic and not talk about it. And that causes problems if not dealt with. I mean, so a guy who I didn't know, who was another guy who had went through a bad divorce, moves in with me. And little did I know he was having problems seeing his son because I was so consumed with my ex-wife cheating on me that I couldn't see the problems he was having. But he moves in to help me. And one night he tells me that he's got to go do something, and he goes rents a hotel room and blows his brains out. And I don't know why I don't have like an emotion on that. I guess because it wasn't in. He left the house to do it, so it wasn't in my house. But I really have never. I don't have like a strong feeling about it. I just know it's there, and I'm thinking, this guy moved in to help me, and yet I was too, pitiful with myself about getting cheated on that I couldn't help him. And so then I go and I get married. I get somebody pregnant, and I want to be the good guy and get married. And I don't want my son not to have a dad, but that's never a reason to get married. Because if you're not getting along when you're together, you're not going to get along. Just because a kid comes into the world, and that just expounds the problem. And I still was dealing with that whole mindset of I don't trust women, so I built this barrier to where I was not going to get hurt. Once my first wife cheated on me, I started cheating on every girl I was with. I just wasn't going to get hurt again. That was my mechanism to prevent me from getting hurt. So I divorced my second wife, but that killed me because I wasn't seeing my son. So we went to counseling, couples counseling. But what I actually needed at the time, if I'd have known this now, I would have went to counseling for me to talk about dealing with what my first wife did. But we got back together. We had another kid. At this time now, I'm in the mounted patrol. I'm no longer on deep nights. So I'm in the clubs and the casinos. And so it's all right there for me on a silver platter. I don't have to tell you, you can imagine being a cop in that type of environment, working. And in Louisiana, the bars stay open till 6 a.m.
A lot of girls petting your horse.
And I mean, I looked different then. I actually had hair. I preferred to be on the bike, actually, not the horse, because if you were on the bicycle, you could go in the clubs. If you were on the horse, you were kind of pretty much stuck with crowd control. So we moved to Texas. That was one of the stipulations. I had to leave that unit, and we remarried. So now wives 2 becomes wives 2 and 3. I'm still not being faithful to her. We have that, my second son. I get divorced again. And now, I mean, but what was weird is because there's a parallel universe running side by side. There's my personal life, but everything was fine at work because I was always taught, follow rules by my dad in the military. So, and I realized early on in this career, we're always being watched, even before body worn cameras. So I was always very polite on calls because I realized that because of the way I look, I have to be extra nice. Because all it takes is your demeanor to come across in a certain way for you to get a rudeness complaint. So I've always been overcautious on how I treat people when the uniform's on. But when I was off duty, I was just freelancing. I was very self-serving, me, myself, and I attitude. I mean, I love my boys, but I wasn't concerned about a relationship. And then I just think, I married somebody else. I think that was only for about 3 months. She had a problem with the amount of time that I had my sons. So that ended quickly. And then I think I just burned myself out on just going out. And I just told myself, I'm just going to worry about work and being a great dad. And then a lot of things kind of happened at one time. I meet my wife, who I'm with now. And while we're dating, she gets cancer. And that was a real eye opening deal for me because, cops, I think, complain more than any other profession there is. If we're not breathing, we're something. And when she got cancer, it made me realize, there are far bigger things than what we're complaining about. And it kind of changed my perspective. And she's very outgoing and I'm very reserved. I could stay in the house forever and not leave as long as there's food in the fridge. So it got me to be more outgoing. And then slowly I started getting in different, the patrol committee. I started engaging now more people. I don't, because my wife's she's out there. She can talk to a stunt. And so now I find myself starting to mimic her how she's acting. And then I become the president of the association. And that kind of forces you to have to talk to people all the time. And I didn't realize exactly what I was getting into at the time. But still, even though now my views on relationships have changed and they're starting to come back and she's allowing me to have faith again in the concept of marriage, I was still I had kind of encompassed that demanding type drill sergeant style as a father. And my oldest son, who was in the 8th grade, he did something bad at school. And so he used to have, he has long hair, but he had real long hair. That meant everything to him. So I told him when he got home, you can forego football your freshman year. I can shave your head. And so he shaved my head. And so I shaved his head and he looked like me. And I didn't realize at the time how big a deal that was. I was just trying to make a point. Don't get in trouble at school. But, looking back on it, we didn't speak for 2 years after I did that. I mean, he would come to my house. He would be cordial with my wife and his stepbrothers, but him and I didn't say a word to each other. And I guess this July, I was fortunate enough to go to Dr. T's 3-day where I was actually a participant and not a speaker. And so to hear her speak and her passion about, mental health and resiliency, and she's embedded in it. Her dad's a cop, her brother's a cop. I mean, she covers all the basic food groups when it comes to that. There's a dispatcher in there somewhere. There's somebody that's in the medical field. And to hear her say, I've never heard somebody say, treat first responders like athletes. And it really, when she talks, it just resonated with me. So it intrigued me. And I've never been to counseling before. I've been to couples counseling, but not counseling for me. So I was intrigued and I was curious. So I set up an appointment. And one day, I can't remember what session it was, but it comes up about my son don't know how it got onto that, but we talked about what I did, and she noticed something in the way, my mannerism, and she really does a great job of reading how you react when you're talking. So, and she could tell something was wrong, and I broke down, and I really realized that it was because me trying to make a point, trying to be that stern hard ass, shaving my kids, because you can't get the time back. I mean, that's 2 years that he's now graduated. He's in college. I'm not the hero in his eyes that I was when he was 4 and 5 years old, and it really hurt me. And there's a lot of, I wish I would have been a little more, empathetic with the kids, but I always thought that I needed to be stern and hard. And it just really hurt. It really, for me to do that, me talking about it now helps me. Because if there's somebody, that there's all kinds of people who have been cheated on, but the best advice I can give is don't put things in boxes, and don't put it in the closet and not talk about it. Because we as cops, we're so used to fixing everybody else's problems, but sometimes we're not too good at fixing our own problems. I mean, our normal is not normal.
That's for sure. That's an understatement. Nate's on. He says hello, and your wife is phenomenal, by the way. And I want to ask, when you were going through your marriages and your divorces, was it just infidelity that was the issue, or was there other stuff going on that you saw in the job that was also spilling over into your personal life, or did you keep that totally separate?
Yeah, I've always been able to keep the two separate. I just know I was very self-centered. I didn't really talk a lot. I was just concerned about who I was going to go out with next. When I didn't have my son, of course, when it was my time away from work, it was like I was trying to feed that hole that I had created and grew bigger, because I wasn't good enough for, my first wife. And it was like never enough. Then it kind of spilled on to trust, just trusting, like, is always analyzing what people are telling me. The problem grows because how you view things, like how I viewed things 15 years ago through a certain optics. If you're viewing things negatively, then it's going to be negative. And it wasn't until, I meet my wife and I get into the role I'm in now, and then going to Dr. T, and I start realizing, a lot of the problems that I was creating in my mind were on my own accord. And that, people aren't out to get you. And sometimes people, I put more weight on my first wife cheating on me than I did. And I never talked about it till 20 some odd years later. But there was all those in between then and now that it paid for the new Matt up until, 5 or 6 years ago. And fortunately, I came to a department. I got a new start. It was, totally new when I came to Texas. Things are different in Louisiana. I mean, I just was fortunate enough to land in Garland, because I always like to tell people when I talk to them about Garland, we have this little protective bubble where we're totally supported by the community and by city leadership. And we have a great relationship with administration. We can actually sit down in a closed room and talk about issues. And it's just really fortunate, because this day and time, with where policing is at, if you might not have all three of those, where you only have a good department, but once you go out into the city, you don't have that city support. And so that's a big deal to doing our job, to be supported by the community. That kind of eases that, worry or how you're viewed, but we don't have that problem in Garland.
I got to say, and I'm sure Sam will agree, from what we do with Badge of Honor, and we go when we talk to a lot of different departments, Garland is probably the top, if not the top, departments that support their officers in mental health. I don't think I've run across, maybe Grand Prairie, a department that really takes responsibility, takes pride in working with their officers and allowing them to open up. And what you see in the officer's demeanor is so different than what you see in departments that do not allow officers to open up. You see that in the police officers, as we do in class. We can tell a department that does not back them because that officer will be more reserved and more set back and not be able to speak at one of our workshops. And then you'll see an officer that will open up like yourself because he's got you. Garland's made it the norm. You know what I'm saying? Garland is already starting to smash that stigma within its own department, which allows its officers to vent and bring out what should be normalized. So I commend Garland PD 100% for doing that.
No, our chief, 5 or 6 years ago, he was assistant chief at the time. He developed a CISM program, and then that spawned and grew. And he's really allowed. We've got a great mental health officer, a captain over the unit. With cops, you need to have a buffet of things, because what might be good for me might not be good for this next person. Because there's one Tribe Nation, there's 3 FTL. Forge Valor counseling, and anytime one of us says, "Hey, chief, we want to have so and so come speak at the department," he's all for it and very supportive of promoting this and taking care of officers. Because like I was saying, we come to work every day, and we're supposed to take care of, protect, and serve. We serve people and we take care of people, but we can't forget we got to take care of each other, because there's those out there, that may be going through a bad divorce and they're not talking about it. And maybe there's some that hit the bottle and some start gambling or doing drugs. And my problem was women. And so I thought if I speak, then maybe I connect with somebody and it'll allow them to open up, and we can start bringing these numbers down that we've seen for years now in this profession, that they're alarmingly higher than any other profession there is. But no, I can't say enough good things about the department I'm at and the chief now. I mean, we don't agree all the time, but he definitely listens. He lets those behind him, underneath him lead, and he listens to what kind of resources we're looking at, what we need, and so
that's the key. That's the key word right there.
I was to where I am now, to the wife I'm with. I don't have any complaints, whatsoever. I mean, policing's policing. It will always be a tough job. We just got to take care of everybody.
But that's the key word when you said listening, right? And right there, I mean, disagreements happen, and you know what? You may not always get your way. The chief may have another way, and that's fine. But if you have a chief that truly listens to your concerns and takes and respects your opinion, right? Even if he doesn't go with your option, you feel, okay, well, at least he gave me a shot. He was man enough to hear me out, and maybe next time. So we can't win every battle, but you know what? As long as we listen to each other, we'll win the war one day. So
no, he does a great. We meet up once a month, and then occasionally meet up other times throughout the month. And he sets us, because I know I'm busy, but I mean, any chief at any department is getting pulled in so many different directions. From they've got to worry about internal and external politics and city leaders. But for him to carve out time, monthly for us to come and talk about what's important to the men and women of the department, he's always listened.
Yeah.
And anything with a relationship with your wife, your boss, your son, it's all about communication. It's a two-way street.
Absolutely. Now, kind of getting back to your story, and you decided, which is like one of the bravest things. You got to have the courage to say, "Hey, I need help. I need to talk about what has gone on from wife number 1 to your son to now your wife that has cancer," and how you are going to deal with all of that, because you don't want everything to keep being a revolving door. right? Because we can go through our careers with blinders on and everybody is collateral damage, right? And that's a big part of policing. That's why we see the divorce rate is super high. But there comes a time where it says, okay, it's not collateral damage. These are people that I loved. I made children with them. And how did you kind of come to terms yourself with, I need to get Matt right with these situations. So this is my wife now, and this is it.
I mean, a couple of things. I think I got wiser. With age comes wisdom. I got tired of losing stuff in marriages.
That cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, you know, it was. I grew up a lot, matured a lot once I met Olivia. And I've never seen, my roommate, he left the house, so I didn't actually see it. I've never seen, I mean, and I've been a cop 24 years. I've seen dead bodies, car crashes. But I guess I was shielded to all the stuff we see in this profession because I was consumed with my personal life. And so, I would get tired real easy driving home from work, and I didn't know why. And I'm real good at just, not saying anything when I'm upset, and I'm thinking, and I didn't have a reason why I was upset, and I would, as being, an officer, and then being the president, and then we have 5 kids. We're a blended family. I would just consume myself where I was so busy that I didn't have time to think about the things that bothered me. But then when I would slow down, that's when it would hit me. And so, she's always suggesting I should go, talk to somebody, because she was in tune enough to know that she thought that I hadn't recovered from my first wife. And so I blew her off, and like, what does she know? I didn't listen, but she had said that, years ago when we were, and she really cares for me. And, so I did finally, but it took the right person talking about, mental health and resiliency, because you can't just roll anybody into a police station to, when it comes to this stuff. They have to be somebody that speaks the language and truly gets us, because we're so finicky and we have our own little world. And Dr. T was able to, navigate that by how she does her presentation. And so now I know with her and First and her comrades at Sports Academy, it's not just about mental health. It's eating right. It's doing the proper, the right type of exercises, wearing this uniform, because, an athlete, a football player plays his game Sunday, but then he has the whole week to rehab and get mentally prepared, physically prepared for the next game. Well, you got a guy on patrol that's going to a wreck. He might go to a shooting 2 hours later, and then you're right back at it the next day. There's no.
Let me stop you right there for a second, Matt. You just cued in on a really important aspect of what we're talking about. When we talk about athletes, right? An athlete plays a Sunday game, right? Let's say, a football player plays a Sunday game, right? He gets his ass kicked. He's getting battered around. He's achy. He, bruised up, bleeding, whatever, torn ligaments, right? But he's got a team of doctors throughout that week that are going to put him in a hot bath, put him in a cold shower, give him the medication he needs, sit down, massage him, make him feel good for that week, right? So he's prepared for next Sunday's game. Our officers don't have that option, right? What massage do you get after you see the family of 5 killed in a car accident? What medication do you get to make you feel better about going back to work? Our athletes, and like I said, you keyed in on it. They're coddled. They're given everything, so they're prepared for their next Sunday game. They get a whole week. An officer is lucky if he gets 8 hours without,
No, you're right. And luckily now that, what comes from that CISM program is if we have that call where an infant dies or something that's just really bothers, shocks the conscience, we have debriefings to where we get everybody in the room and we've got senior guys and girls in there and somebody's leading the discussion and there's no rank. And then, you have those junior officers and it allows, that flow of talking and you see feelings come out and that's beneficial because, that was nowhere to be seen 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I just feel like I was blessed to see your CISM in action after Sergeant Helms and Rowlett took his life and Rod, in one of the comments, a department that's open about its officers' mental health is inoculating them against all trauma that's inevitable with a job. And yes, to see the way you guys have been trained, and it was like there was no mountains to move. It was just like, hey, can we have the space? Sure. I'm going to close it to the public. Okay, how many people are coming over? And it was you guys and Rockwall, and so no officer from Rowlett ever felt like they slipped through the cracks or that they couldn't talk about how they felt. And Officer Helms, although he died by suicide, it was a line of duty death. There were feelings around that because, I believe and John believes that the chief did the right thing. But you talk to some of the guys and it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to the funeral because it's it was a suicide. And it's like, this is a line of duty death. It's been declared a line of duty death by your chief. You show up. Okay. It doesn't matter the circumstances. And that was huge, but there was a lot, there's always a lot of navigating to do when it comes to mental health in police work, as well as our personal lives that are brought to our job, because we're not robots. We can't we're at the job now, flip, the family switch goes off. If you just left the house, in a raging fight with your spouse and you're walking in.
We're not the Terminator. We actually feel pain and bleed. And, you want officers out there on the street because there's liability all around us, in this profession. So you want somebody to try, the best mindset they can possibly have. So if we can do things to, help, whether they're having problems at home or financial problems or whatever they may be, it's all about, like we said, communicating, getting people to talk about it. We're in so much of a better place than we were, especially in Garland, but it's not where we still have improvement to go. There's still the naysayers out there. You gotta continue to ride the dragon of change when it comes to this. And this is the third time I've spoken about, my personal life, and it's embarrassing to sit here and say that I cheated on all these wives and I was just self-serving. But when you allow yourself to be truthful like this, I think you can reach people out there that are going through the exact same thing. And the more cops and firemen and military that we can get to talk about this candidly, professionally, then we can start helping more people.
Absolutely.
And that's what it takes.
I did have a question about your career in terms of the roles that you're taking on, because you've done like everything in police work. What made you decide to step up and take on the role as the Garland Police Association president?
Oh, I don't know. I've often asked myself that question. I was on the, we call it the back lot, where, you park in the back lot and then you have to walk up to the station. That's where most of the best complaining goes on, is in the back lot. Cause admin's not around out there, although I think they've installed cameras now. So, but, I just, I was like, complaining about a problem to a fellow officer or a group of officers doesn't solve anything. So our association had kind of become stagnant and non-existent. So I'm like, what the heck? And so I put a suit on. I went, put Smith for president all around the police station, went, put a flyer on everybody's desk. And 6 years later, here I am. It's been fulfilling in a lot of ways. It's taxing because your phone's always blowing up. You're having to deal with issues, and somebody going IA, you have to make sure they have a rep. If there's an officer involved shooting and you're in the theater, guess what? It's not the chief that gets the attorney. They call me. And so I have to step out of the theater and call the on-call attorney to get them legal coverage. And
well, you're a president that does good stuff. No one's screaming, "Let's go, Matt."
but you have to make, decisions, and you're only remembered for your last victory. And you got it's a hard battle to constantly do things, try to get things improved for the department. It's not as easy as just saying, "Oh yeah, hey chief, we want this, so we look good," and but you just have to be there. It's kind of like with the chief, you just have to be there for him. I learned a lot when he was assistant chief by being in the patrol committee meeting. That kind of helped me. And an interesting story, I had just gotten booted out of the SRO unit. Nothing too terrible. But I was sent back to patrol, and I'm out there all moping, going, "Damn, I got to go back to patrol." Patrol's really not that bad. I mean, it's really simplistic. You answer calls, you go home, you don't bring anything home with you, So I'm outside. I remember just like it was yesterday, getting ready to do yard work, and my phone rings, and it's the assistant chief, and I'm like, "Oh, great! Did I do something else?" And it's the assistant chief who's now the chief. And he's like, "Hey, Matt, don't let this define you. This is just a setback. There's a lot of I see a lot of, potential in you." And I've never forgot that, for him to take the time on a Saturday to call. And this was like weeks after the fact. I just went to patrol, did my thing. I wasn't down. And here I am now. And in a much far greater place, I'm MPO, still the president, great family, a wife that should get 100 badges for putting up with me. Because I'm still I'm not ever going to just totally strip off the drill sergeant hat, because that's just how I'm wired. But I'm definitely a lot more. I won't yell about the cereal box being out on the counter. I'll just put the cereal box back in where it goes and breathe through my nose a few times. And they're kids, instead of making a big ordeal about it.
Right.
So, and I have a lot of people to thank for that. My wife, Dr. T, the friend. I truly believe the people you hang out with kind of shape and mold your mentality. I've been fortunate to be around a lot of good people, and I've actually started to listen to the wisdom they've had and realize I don't have all the answers. And, that's what makes a great leader, I think, is listening to those around them.
Exactly. Well, listening and I think, throughout our hour together is that you're willing to put in the work to learn what you need to learn, and then do it, be the model. And it is enlightening to see you kind of be in a room with your other fellow officers and watch how Garland PD interacts with each other as a whole. And for those that attended the workshop and were with Dr. T from outside the department, that came over that one day to see how you all operate as well. So you're passing on so many gifts, you personally and your department, as a model for hey, here's how we take care of ourselves as police officers, as individuals, as a department. Because we when we're out there, we practice like we play, and you and Garland PD really, top notch. You take the time to do what other departments don't, and it shows a lot
from the outside. Outsiders see it 100%.
We've got a lot of leaders. We've got guys, assistant chiefs that were, gang lieutenants, SWAT lieutenant. I mean, we've got so many people skilled in their area, and they're allowed to, run their area. And then there's so many guys who aren't, just officers, so many leaders themselves, captains, our mental health officer. And it really shows. You can see it in the department. It's not always, roses, but it's really, I'm very candid. I never, blow smoke. We have a great department, and anytime I can get a chance to promote it, I will, because we do take care of our officers. We were there real quick when that unfortunate deal happened with our brothers, at the other department.
Yeah, you were. It was amazing to watch. Well, let me ask you, because I can't believe the time has flown by again. If there's one message that you want to get across to the first responders listening out there, what would you say to them?
No, the number one thing is, don't put it in a box and put it in the closet. Find somebody you trust. I mean, we got 350 plus people. There's got to be somebody you can talk to. Don't think you can solve it all by yourself, because that's what leads to failed marriages, alcohol. It's just going to lead to more problems, because you just quit trying to think you have all the answers, because, more people on a problem is probably better than you, individually on the problem. Take care of your family, take care of yourself, because we all need grace. Helen Keller said there's a lot of suffering in the world, but there's also a lot of overcoming that suffering, so.
Amen. Amen to that. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show tonight,
yes,
for sharing your story. This was really important, because it's real life. And if we can, the more stories like yours, the more that the guys and the gals in the department see that it's not about how many spouses you go through. It's about figuring out how to talk, like you just said, talk to the right people so that you keep one, or maybe the second one, whatever it is. But then it doesn't have to be, but then it doesn't have to be this, like, railroad where, you're just a steam engine plowing through life. You can really stop and listen and build empathy and be there.
Do you have time for one last thing?
Absolutely.
Hey, I just want to send a shout out to Priority One Cleanup. If you need your carpets, tile, or driveways cleaned, these guys are friends of mine. Priority One Cleanup. Look them up on the internet.
Hell yeah, Priority One Cleanup.
I've never done a shout out. I feel like LeBron James now.
There you go.
Priority One for what y'all do. I mean that. Anytime y'all need a face painter. Hopefully it won't be Christmas, so I don't have to do the Grinch. But yeah, that really, you brought it up when y'all were talking. It's relaxing. I never looked at it that way, but it takes me to a peaceful place.
And that's what it's all about, finding what works.
I took a couple of candid shots of you doing some of the face painting, and I thought to myself, I'm like, you were just so focused. And you looked confident in what you were doing. You were relaxed. So it gave you that time to stay out of your own head and really enjoy what you're doing. And I tell you, you put a lot of smiles on people's faces. You made a difference, brother. You made a big difference.
Sir. Thank y'all both for having me. I really appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we will be in touch soon, Matt. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Y'all too.
All right. Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry Christmas, brother.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Wow, this was such an important topic.
The one thing, Sam, that I want to touch on with Matt is, everybody has a story, right? And when I got onto the police department, the joke was, hey, 75% of you will be divorced in the first 5 years, and it was a kind of a joke. It's like, yeah, you're a cop. You're going to get divorced. It doesn't have to be that way. But what he's feeling, there may be a cop out there or a first responder out there that's feeling the same thing. That's why when we share our stories, when other officers open up and share their stories, maybe they come from an abused, a violent home or a drunken alcoholic parents, and they're holding that inside. There's other cops out there that have come from violent homes, from drug addict parents, from abusive, parents, or failed marriages. And this is what connects everybody. And it makes you not feel like you're alone, because there is somebody else out there willing to share, and somebody you can talk to and who knows the same experiences you went through, that you're going through.
Right. And you're truly not alone. That's the reality of it. And, for everybody that's watching, we just want to say thank you to you all for tuning in week after week. These are important topics, and, take them, talk with your family about them, talk to your friends who might be first responders about them. But we appreciate your support. And now that we've switched our programmings, Mad Radio will now be live the first and the third Wednesday of each month. And we changed that because we've got this 501c3 making a huge difference. And, Matt has been a big part of that as we continue to do the Badge of Honor workshops out at Garland, being a major supporter and sponsor of what we do. We thank him so much, and we thank you all for giving us your time each week, but also digging into your pocketbooks and giving. We have everything set up on our website at badgeofhonor.com. You can just bounce over there. You'll see the donate/Mad Radio at the top of the page. Every little bit helps, and you'll see some really cool t-shirts. In fact, I created a pop-up so it blocks the entire front page. So we got these t-shirts, we got Facebook messages, phone calls. Hey, how do I get that t-shirt? And so if you'd like a t-shirt, go to badgeofhonor.com. The pop-up will be there. You can order the t-shirt. And again, it's a donation to our 501c3 that allows us to continue to do the amazing programming and work that we're doing. And we're expanding in 2022 to bring a family aspect and dynamic to the workshops in what we do. And with that, we want to thank everybody who's part of our Facebook family. Thank you so much for your support. We ask that you just jump over to YouTube if you haven't done so and subscribe over there. Follow us on YouTube. And when you get to YouTube, you just do in the search bar, we are Mad Radio Texas, all spelled out. And if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. We've grown exponentially on YouTube. So appreciate the support there. Jump on over to our Facebook page and follow us there. And on our Facebook, we're at Making a Difference TX. Or again, you can go to Facebook and just in that search, just put Mad Radio, and you'll see a little picture pop up of me and John, and you're in the right place.
You're in the right place.
Can follow us. You can follow us over there. There's a ton of different ways to support the show, to support a Badge of Honor, and really to be part of our family that lets our first responder communities and families know that you are not alone in your struggles. And for those of you that have been on our pages lately, hit hard again by a line of duty death, Officer Houston out of Mesquite PD. We're small. We're small town Texas. Rock Walls is still the smallest county in Texas where I live, and we've got Little Rowlett, and then we've got Garland's a little bit bigger, but they're still relatively small. And then we got Mesquite. And so everybody kind of knows everybody. Everybody sees everybody, whether it's at the grocery store or at choir practice, right?
Not Kroger. Not Kroger.
Not Kroger. Do not go to that grocery store anymore. Any other grocery store but Kroger. Yeah, we're not supporting Kroger anymore. They are not on our side. And Olivia, thank you so much for coming on. And your great comment saying it's a great avenue for first responders, great for wives to know that they are not alone as well. Olivia, you are absolutely 100% correct. And the more that we have heard the family stories and the vicarious trauma and how it spills over, we as a badge of honor, we couldn't ignore that anymore. It is a vital piece of the trauma puzzle, and that's why we're expanding our programming. So look for a lot of powerful stuff in 2022
on the family aspect.
Yeah, John, it is. It's hard to believe that another year has gone by. We've been making a difference for a long time, and we'll continue to do so because that's where our hearts are. And to have you as a partner and really a driving force behind, let's get this thing off the ground as a 501c3, and having Jeff and John Edmondson be involved, and all, we don't do this by ourselves. Okay. Yes, we're kind of like the brains behind the operation, but truly we don't do this by ourselves. Having the support of Garland Police Department, Garland Police Association, Grand Prairie, Lindale. I mean, everybody that is involved behind the scenes, it says we need this. We need this. Yes, we do need this, whether it's from us or one of our resources. If you need help, we've got the help that you need. Our numbers are out there. Our personal cell phone numbers are out there. You log on to our website, you scroll down the front page, boom, our partners. You click on a logo, you are set up, whether it's recreational therapy that you're looking for, whether it is more of a traditional therapy like Matt was talking about with Dr. T at first, and everything in between. The one thing that we promise, you visit us a badge of honor, you get vetted resources. These people have lived the lifestyle. They have been in the trenches. They understand what you do as first responders. Do the most courageous thing that you'll ever do for yourself. First, put yourself first. Second, ask for help.
Exactly.
And third, make 2022 make a promise to yourself that 2022 is going to be the time that you make these changes so that you are a better you. You're a better you for your family. You're a better you for your department. And everybody wins. Right, John?
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So talking about a winning attitude and something that blew us both away as it relates to Officer Houston, there have been a lot of videos that have been going around. John is skilled beyond to have put two of these videos together. It's too big of a file to just plop up on play through StreamYard. So I'm going to jump over, and as we wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year, this is really what it is about in police work. And we hope that you listen to the words, and we hope that you feel the power behind this video that we'd like to share with you as we sign off this year and join you all next year. John, you want to say anything as I get this set up?
Nope. The only thing I want to say is, this show tonight, Our last show of the year is dedicated to Sergeant Richard Houston of the Mesquite PD here in Texas. I want to send out our thoughts and our prayers to everybody in Kentucky and along those paths, those first responders that are out there who did lose stuff but are still out there fighting the good fight and protecting the citizens of Kentucky and Illinois and Missouri and everything and everybody else that got hit. Please pray for them. And if you'd like to make a donation, go to www.lifemessage.org, or you can drop water or supplies off at the Veterans Resource and Outreach Center, the VROC, over at 4210 Industrial Street. We are sending a 26-foot trailer to Mayfield, Kentucky on Sunday morning. So if you can get those supplies there by Saturday, they'll be loaded on a truck and out to Mayfield, Kentucky by Sunday. But that's it. God bless. Have a great and a happy and healthy New Year.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Sam. Good night.
Good night.
Did you load up?
It's going. Tell me if you can see it.
I'll tell you. I'll let you know. I can hear it.
Okay.
I can't see it.
Let me try this again. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to do the share screen. Hang on 1 second. Entire screen. Do
Almost.
Let's see. Share. Chrome tab. Here we go. I'm getting it, folks. All
right. There you go.
God bless you. Here we go.
Enlarge. Perfect. Full screen.
And I knew this day would come at some point in my life. However, I didn't think it would come so soon. And there's so much I want to say about my dad, but I would have to stand up here forever to do that. I've tried to find all the perfect words and to formulate all the right thoughts for this. But as I got up to preach last Wednesday for the first time ever, my dad sent me this text. He said, "Sometimes it feels overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you everything will be okay. You got this. Remember that no matter what, me and your mom got your back. Always and forever. Have fun tonight. Speak from your heart and don't look back. You will do great. I know you will, no doubt. I love you." I don't think he knew that this text would actually mean more than just another Wednesday night for me. It would actually be the text that would send me into speaking at his funeral a few days later. I know many of you knew my father as an officer. You may have seen him in his uniform with a badge and a squad car, but I saw my dad in a different fashion. Always in his plaid pajama pants, book in hand, in his silver Ford F-150. Home has felt lonely without him here. I keep waiting for him to pull up in the driveway to come inside and tell us about some crazy car chase he got into. Or maybe even how terrible the 7-Eleven taquitos were for lunch. You never knew. It was always a surprise what he had gotten into that day. However, there was no heavier surprise than to receive a call that your dad had been shot and killed. It will be a day I never forget. I remember having conversations with my dad about him losing friends and officers in the line of duty. I have heard all the stories you can think of, but I've always had such a hard time with how the suspect is dealt with. Not that I didn't think there should be justice served, but my heart always ached for those who don't know Jesus. Their actions being a reflection of that. I was always told that I would feel differently if it happened to me, but as it's happened to my own father, I think I still feel the same. There has been anger, sadness, grief, and confusion, And part of me wishes I could despise the man who did this to my father. But I can't get any part of my heart to hate him. All that I can find is myself hoping and praying for this man to truly know Jesus. I thought this might change if the man continued to live, but when I heard the news that he was in stable condition, part of me was relieved. My prayer is that someday down the road, I'd get to spend some time with the man who shot my father. Not to scream at him, not to yell at him, not to scold him, simply to tell him about Jesus. I've spent the past few days thinking about what it was like for my daddy to live lifeless in the flesh, but full of life with our Father in heaven. I wonder what it was like to reunite with his father, to see his other officers who fell in the line of duty, but mostly to sit at the right hand of Jesus. I can imagine it's a much better place than here.
God bless everybody. Good night.